and I didn't think it, by the middle of the movie, I didn't really think the movie worked. I was certain it was not going to, that it was going to be a big bomb. And I pretty much close to a nervous breakdown. And then muddled my way through the end. Plus, I had a crush on Lea. And so the combination play of everything was, I was a wreck. And so the fact that the movie turned out always surprises me. You can have the greatest time. I've had the greatest time on a movie, but I finally got it. It's a great movie and it's gone. Then a nightmare like this, and it turns out you just never know. It's like, I love this saying that George Lucas said that every time he makes a movie, he learns more and more how to make a movie, but it doesn't mean it's going to be a better movie.
Well, Lea, you had worked with Eric Stoltz a couple of times before this, the original incarnation of Back to the Future, and then The Wildlife, which is a great movie, in my opinion. And so were you his idea? Was he the one who... Because isn't there some story about him like pedaling up to your house with the script or something?
Yeah, was it Kim Delaney that had this part? Yeah, Kim Delaney had the part, and so Howie had to recast it, so he came back to me and he said, Eric, you know Lea, because I've done 2 movies, and he actually rode his bike up Laurel Canyon. I lived at the top of Laurel Canyon. I don't know how he did it, we were young, and he handed me the script, and that's how I said yes.
Well, I'm kind of curious about how the dynamic worked on the set, because you and Eric were friends. You and Eric have both acknowledged that you butted heads on this movie a lot, that you guys really were clashing, and I imagine that's one of the things when you said you could have horrible time making it. So what was that? Did you feel like you were kind of the referee between these guys sometimes, or? Well,
it was really difficult because I had just done Back to the Future with Eric, and he had been replaced. So I was really, he was my friend, and I actually really loved him, and he's a great guy. And so I kept being like, Eric, no, because I didn't want it to happen. Like, please. So yeah, I felt, like it was a kind of hard to referee because I liked them both so much. And, yeah, but it
you liked me more.
I did. Kid.
Well, what are your memories of that whole thing? I mean, this was your second movie, so I imagine maybe you hadn't actually come up against an actor who you were, clashing with that way. And did anything, aside from the fact that the movie's great, did anything positive come out of that? Did you enjoy anything about directing actors from dealing with Stoltz? No.
But what I learned is that you have to, eventually as a director, and I didn't unfortunately do this, but I learned that there's a line you have to draw, and finally you have to confront the actor and say, I'm the director, and unfortunately you may hate this, but we're doing it my way. Now, before you get to that, there's a lot of other, ways to skin the cat. Unfortunately, with E&I, there wasn't, and I would end up trying every other way. I'd end up doing, 25 takes minimum, and we just didn't have that kind of budget or time, and also it kills morale, and it wasn't his fault necessarily. In retrospect, I don't think he was cast. Even though the movie works, I still don't think it was the right cast on it. But what's that? He's good. Hi, Eric. But that's
Who did you want to cast?
What's that?
Who did you want to cast?
In the original script, it was Michael J. Fox who passed, and it was one of the reasons I didn't do the movie. But in this incarnation, in this the script, I didn't know. That's why I stuck with Eric, because we couldn't find anybody else who made sense at the time.
Did you want to replace him at some point in the movie?
Yeah, I did. And Ned Tavern, who was the head of Paramount, talked to me about it, we discussed it, and we didn't do it.
He's a director now, and he said that, he was like, I don't know what I was thinking, and now he's a wonderful director. He directs Glee and a bunch of TV shows, Eric. He's getting his comeuppance, honey.
Well, Lea, watching the movie tonight, it really struck me in some ways it's a really difficult role that you have, because you have to kind of keep walking this fine line where you have to be likable enough that we want Eric to be with you, but you're also kind of have to be a bitch sometimes, and you have to be smart but dumb enough that you would be with Craig Sheffer, and all this kind of stuff. It's a really sort of delicate tonal balance that you have to. I mean, did that concern you when you were making the movie? Did you feel like you had a grasp on this character while you were doing it, or was it?
Well, it's really nice of you to notice that, because it was a really difficult part. I mean, and probably that's why I turned it down, because I didn't end up with the guy. And I knew she had the part. It was a much better part, the other part. So I'm always up to the challenge, and I actually gotten a lot of parts like that are actually really hard to, like when someone says, this girl's hard to like in the script, let's get Lea, because she'll try to figure it out. And, but I did appreciate the idea, the way that he wrote it, that he made her poor, and that he tried to make her a more complicated character, and that's one of the things that John Hughes does. And I had a lot of weird things to do, and also there was some comedy in there that I was trying to hit along with the drama and the heartfelt things, the being in love with him and falling in love with him. But yeah, it was a complicated story, and I think that's why it still. I mean, my daughter was watching it and she was crying. I mean, it still, resonates because the characters feel classic but real in some weird way.
Well, that's sort of an extension of the movie as a whole. There's a delicate balancing act that you have to keep going the whole time, Howie, because the sympathies kind of shift from character to character, and the relationships, like who you're rooting for to be together changes over the course of the movie several times. I mean, I'm curious if that's something, was that all right there on the page, or was that like a balance tonally you had to kind of struggle with as you were making the movie and editing it? I noticed that the editor on this movie is Friedkin's editor, right? Like, isn't this the guy who cut like The Exorcist and?
Seth Lown did work with Bud Smith.
We can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, it works.
Don't talk to me, Joe. Seth I met on a movie. Yes, he was definitely the same editor who worked with Friedkin, and we became very close. He ended up editing all my movies, still are close. But the answer to the question is that, in a triangle like this, I think it's important that we never know who. You can't telegraph what's going to happen when the audience is like, okay, I'm done. There's the air goes out. And so after Pretty in Pink, there's also a triangle, which we had to reshoot the ending of because of several reasons. But that balance, that tightrope walk became critical, so that hopefully you don't know what's going to happen.
Well, I want to give the audience a chance to ask questions. I imagine there are probably a few out there.